Hello. Happy New Year.
I'll be happy for some people.
I was going to say, aye.
Not so happy for others. Wow, man. What a fixture that is. I mean, you know, you kind of... Look, there's a lot of baggage attached to this fixture, right? And there was scenes at the end of the day which are really, really, I mean, horrendous. And there's the sectarian element and all that. And so there's a lot that you have to be prepared to overlook with Celtic and Rangers and Celtic. But the football games, they can be spectacular. Now, a really poor performance, that one, I think everybody would say, from Celtic. But, you know, I think Rangers would have blown people's socks off with the way they went about it, and in a very similar manner to the way they played at Hampden. So there's just so many surprises, so much for us to talk about tonight, and so many imponderables, and probably a lot of Rangers fans now even more, while they'll be enjoying this result, they'll be thinking, well, why did he change it all for St Mirren and Motherwell? Because they could, and I know that I said it right, the title race could have been on, and it's not because Clement did some really strange stuff. You have to lay the blame at his door, I agree. Right, well, look, we're going to hear from our resident ref, Des Roache, later on. You know, I like my corners with Des. Before we do that, though, our esteemed colleague Scott McDermott comes to us live from Ibrox. Scott, how's it going?
I'm good, Daniel. Yourselves? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well, Scott. Very happy New Year for Philip Clement and his players.
Very. Football's mental, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
That was just bonkers. How anybody could have saw that coming, I don't know. I mean, odds totally stacked against Rangers in terms of team selection, current form, everything. And listen, I mean, I've rarely seen Celtic play as poorly as that, but no, I don't think you should labour that point, because I think Rangers made them play poorly.
Scott, that's the second time. And it was very similar in terms of the tactical approach, to get in about them, to press them, you know, try to intercept passes, pick things off. And then they've got that front four that are capable of causing Celtic problems because they come at them from a variety of different angles. I thought it was really similar to Hampden. So you can say, and Celtic said that they weren't happy with the way they played in the first half at Hampden. They felt that they were really under par, and I'm sure Celtic will say the same again today, but it can't be all down to coincidence. I think a lot of it has to be about the way Rangers are imposing themselves on this fixture now.
Yeah, listen, I think Rangers have proved that when they play with a level of urgency, intensity, speed in their game, and they press a team like Celtic, then they can be really good. But of course, the challenge is, can they do it on a regular basis? Can they do it consistently? I mean, they've beat
Not
Celtic.
if the sports scientists get involved.
Well, listen, they've beat Celtic 3-0 today, and you're still coming away from it thinking they'll probably go and drop points at Easter Road on Sunday. Do you know what I mean? And if it's not Easter Road, it'll be Dens Park on Thursday night. That is the challenge for Clement and these players. That they've got it in them, even missing the key players that they were today. They've proved, as you say, they did it at Hampden. They've did it before. When they're at it, they can go and compete with anybody, especially Celtic. But they've just not done it. They've not done it consistently enough. And I think you touched on it, Keith, just before I came on. No, you don't want to look back, but Rangers fans will be sitting here thinking, if they'd have just beat St Mirren and Motherwell, they'd be sitting 6 points behind in a proper title race.
Heading into the new year.
Yeah, and not just that, because of the performance today, I think they would have put a serious dent in Celtic, put serious seeds of doubt into them, probably for the first time since Brendan Rodgers has come back. Psychologically, it could have been huge for them. But you come away for the 3-0 win, and obviously the punters will be delighted, they'll have a good time tonight, but they're still 11 points behind, 2 tricky away games to come in the next week. So I think there'll be a lot of frustration there as well.
We spoke, Scott, just before we come on air about Philip Clement and where this result kind of leaves him, because I can't really recall any other Old Firm manager in a similar situation, because if he'd lost today, people would have been calling for him to go, sacked, what have you. He's won today, But does that make him the right man for the long term?
Well, there's an element of the lame duck waddling on, and I think that's what Rangers have at this minute in time. Except, and there's a caveat to add to that, as there always is. Rangers fans, probably still want to see him succeed. I think they understand that the chopping and changing constantly of managers isn't helping anything in terms of the growth of the club. So even though there'll be a lot of Rangers fans that are fed up with him and want to see the back of him, a result like that and a performance like that, they'll look at it and say, if that's the standard that he could get to, then maybe we do persevere. Maybe it is worth sticking by. So there's a big element of that. But I keep coming back to it. We'd said it, that he stumbled across this front four almost by sheer accident and against his better judgment. He didn't want Hadji anywhere near it. Yeah. You look at Hadji today, you look at what Hadji offered at Hampden. He's a quality player, far better than anything that he was using in these positions previous to that. It's finally enabled him to play Bayrami in the number 10 position. Night and day, what he can offer in a more central position. Czerny is thriving on playing with players of that quality. I mean, look, I think there's two things you can say about this Rangers performance. One, in terms of the aggression, the intensity, the approach, physicality, everything's spot on, right? The way that you've got to go into Derby if you want to win it. But this was more than just that. Some of the intricate kind of interpassing between these players, these are, when they're actually playing at that pace and linking up with each other, they're actually very inventive. They're good to watch.
Good players,
there was a lot of good football played there. It wasn't just all about hustle and bustle and try and harry Celtic out their stride. Rangers played some quality football in the final third. So Rangers fans will be scratching their heads saying, well, why did we not just stick with this going into, the matches against St Mirren and Motherwell? Because he sort of ripped it all up needlessly. And it really has made this a sort of Pyrrhic victory. Yes, they'll thoroughly enjoy their day, but the bottom line is it's not going to be consequential to the title race. Celtic are too far gone.
Yeah. I mean, I would sorry, go on, Scott.
No, it goes back to the rotation question, Jacko. I mean, Philippe Clement's come in after the game there, obviously delighted with the performance and the result. But maybe it was effectively saying, no, we need to end all this talk about rotation and people need to stop criticising me for leaving Eagleman and Czerny. And you're thinking, but that's the whole point. You left him out and you drop points. I mean, I don't quite. I know what he's getting at. He's basically saying every club in Europe now need to rotate their squad to keep players fresh. But Rangers don't have a good enough squad for that. They don't have a deep enough squad where they can go and rest guys, because the backups, with all due respect to your key,
too much of a drop off.
Cyril Dessers, exactly. It's not the same. It's not the same level.
Listen, Scotty, everybody's had their say on this, right? And I see there's some big blowhard talking about dinosaurs and all that, because people are questioning the validity of allowing the sports scientists to effectively select the starting lineups. I mean, it's ridiculous. If you speak to anybody in football, and you heard it again today with Neil Lennon in the studio. Brendan Rodgers said it yesterday, or a couple of days ago when I was down at Lennoxtown, asked about sports science. He says, look, there is a part for it to play. It's important. But at the end of the day, I'm the manager. I'm paid to make the big decisions. I'll sit and listen to them. But sometimes, some players, they might not feel like it, but you sometimes need to give them a little bit of a push. And then once they get out there and they're playing in it, they get over the top of the hill, they thoroughly enjoy it. That's what a manager does. So to wash your hands of that, that's not proper management. That's not proper leadership. And he's paid, Rangers have paid a big price because of it.
Clement was missing key players today, as we've spoken about, but ultimately what he did today was put his best 11 out there.
That's it. No, put your best players on the pitch.
He put his best 11 available to him, and even if that means Yilmaz playing it right back instead of bringing in a young player or maybe a Leon King or whatever, no, he picked his best 11 players available, and I don't think it's any coincidence that he got that kind of performance.
By the way, Scotty, what's your thoughts on Yilmaz at right back against Maeda? Because
inverted right back.
I mean, Tavernier must be looking at that going, well, how does that happen?
I know.
I mean, Maeda was off it the day. There's no doubt for that. But credit to Yilmaz, you're right. I mean, he was He was aggressive. He was quick to the tackle. He didn't let Maida settle. Now, he did well. I mean, it's tough for a left back going and playing the right. And listen, it did hinder Rangers a wee bit because in the first half, a couple of good chances came down that side, but he was obviously in his wrong foot. I mean, if Tavernier, one of them in particular, if Tavernier was there, it'd have probably been a goal. But no, I mean, it was a wee bit square pegs and round holes. But as I say, he's 11 best, technically the best players he's got. Put them out there in a good shape, with a good setup, as we've discussed, similar to Hampden. And it worked for them. I mean, they thoroughly deserved it, obviously. I mean, it could have been more.
I've got two questions for you, Scott, right? Given that, he's got this performance and result out of them today. One, I'm going to ask you about the captain's armband. Should Nico Raskin now be given it on a permanent basis? Because he plays and looks like a leader.
Well, it'd be a massive call. I mean, after one game, I get where you're coming from. I think Raskin's been their best player, Rangers' best player, probably for a number of weeks now, which makes the decision to leave him out at St Mirren all the more baffling. He was very good again today. I agree with you. I think he has got a bit of leadership about him. He's still relatively young, early 20s. He's got a wee bit about him. I think it's better someone like him probably been captain than Jack Butland, for instance, who's vice captain, because Raskin's in the mid state and that kind of midfield battle. I thought he dominated it the day with Diomande beside him, obviously supported by Hadji and Bayrami. Listen, I think we've all talked for a while, so it seems like the last couple of years, about James Tavernier and the captaincy, whether it was becoming an issue for him, and maybe whether it might be better taking it off him. And maybe there hasn't really been any proper contenders for that. And Raskin looks as if he's emerging as one of them. And maybe long term, Raskin is a Rangers captain, but I don't think he would do that. I don't think the manager would do that so soon, especially after just one big performance. Second
question: does Jack Butland come straight in to the number one position when he's ready to play? I don't think that Liam Kelly didn't have a great deal to do today, but given that Butland's been a bit erratic
and
heading into this period.
I should say a great save from Hatate.
He did have a good save
right on half time, which was really important.
Yeah, he had one big save, and it was only Celtic's only real kind of effort.
Shot at goal. Yeah.
I thought he was decent with his feet as well. I can only remember one or two that went out of play.
He shelled a couple into the front row, didn't he?
But he was decent with his feet, looked pretty calm. Massive day for Liam Kelly. I think he's a Rangers fan. Only made his, despite two spells, only made his debut last week. To get your first Old Firm game, a 3-0 win and a clean sheet. I mean, an absolute dream for him. Look, I criticised Jack Butland down here with you the other day, Jacko, because I thought he looked as if he's been off it the last few weeks. His decision making against St Mirren, giving away the penalty, it was terrible goalkeeping. I thought at Fir Park he didn't look himself either. Could have done better with the first goal. Looked ropey for the goal that get disallowed, and the one that came off the bar for Motherwell. Just hasn't looked himself. Now, I don't know if this issue that he's got, this kind of internal bleed, I don't know if that's only just happened in the last couple of days or whether that's been hindering him.
It's all very unclear, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know whether that's been a problem for him, because he certainly hasn't looked himself. Look, Liam Kelly's done himself no harm. They did a really good performance, obviously brilliant win for them. But listen, I think in terms of levels, when Jack Butland's at his best, he's probably a different level to Liam Kelly, with all due respect. So I just think expect him to come back in.
You might be right, Scott. You might be onto something. Maybe it is the injury. Maybe it has had an effect on him. But I have felt in the last couple of games, Jack Butland was a little bit of a liability, and I felt that Liam Kelly looked nice, safe and secure today. I
think Butland looks like a shadow of the guy that he was last season.
He's obviously going through some big moments in his life.
Of course.
First kid, and he's got this injury.
Listen, what it does do is, I mean, Jack Butland and the Rangers supporters have probably thought, since the start of the season, no one's going to dislodge him. I mean, Liam Kelly's just coming in as a backup. He's a guy that knew the club, obviously, when he'd been there. It was a free transfer. But what this does do is probably put a wee bit of pressure on Jack Butland, which is maybe needed. Even if it just puts it into his mind that I'm going to need to up my game here. No, this boy's come in and did okay and proved he can handle it. So I don't think that can be a bad thing.
Before we let you go, Scott, let me throw a couple of comments in, because they're coming in thick and fast, as I'm sure you can imagine. Paul Lynch agrees with you, Keith. Says Raskin bossed the game, he should be permanent captain. Yilmaz and Maeda Yilmaz had Maeda in his back pocket the whole game, and more shots at goal than the entire Celtic team, which I think is correct, which is a pretty mad stat.
He had more shots at goal in about 2 minutes, the space of two, didn't he? There were 3 in the space of 2 minutes at one point in the second half, I think.
Drew Ferguson, Rangers' first 11 can compete for the league. It's the depth of the quality in the squad that's killing us.
That's probably a good point, Daniel.
Aye.
I probably agree with that. I mean, as I said earlier, I think they've proved now that if they're at it and they've got a strong 11, then on their day, 90 minutes, even the cup final, 120 minutes, they can go and compete with Celtic. But the depth of the squad is a problem. We've already discussed how the reinforcements aren't up to the level. Philippe Clement will know that, and ultimately, just as the first guy said there, it's like, this is one game, and Rangers fans will be delighted. It was a brilliant performance, but without what kind of dampen their mood, they need to do it. They're still 11 points behind in the league. The last 2 games, Motherwell and St Mirren, unacceptable. They need to do it when it matters. They need to go and compete with Celtic over the course of a season. And I just think the danger for Rangers is, again, how many times have we said that they get carried away with this, and they think they've cracked it. I feel as if I've said this about Rangers so many times since they won the league a few years ago. They should take this for what it is, a brilliant performance, deserved result. They should take a lot of confidence and belief for it psychologically that they can go and beat Celtic. But the challenge is still there for them to go, and as I say, 2 tough away games coming up. They need to go and get 6 points, because if they drop the level again, it just proves there's an issue there. Whether that's to do with squad depth or whether that's mentality, they need to fix that, because or they'll never mount a challenge for this title.
I just think you're spot on there, but in what you said, Scott, in terms of will they allow this to kind of adjust their own kind of mindset on it, and I think that's exactly what happened after the cup final against Celtic at Hampden, that Clement made a sort of naive mistake, that thinking we're on top of this now, we're looking like a right team. I can afford to make these changes. You can't afford to make the changes because you don't have the quality to replace them. Aye. But what you have got there is a front four that can do damage with Danilo to come on. Mm-hmm. And by the way, when was the last time Rangers had a striker that started scoring goals frequently in Old Firm games? Long time ago.
You need to think, don't you?
It was similar. Sorry, Dan. It was similar. If I want to go back, I know Jacko spoke about this a lot, but you think back to the 3-each game, the last time they played here in the league, and there was a lot made about the celebrations and Clement doing the kind of lap of honour after the game.
Yeah, 100%, mate.
That was a problem, because it just that
sent out all kinds of warped messages.
Wrong message, seeped into the mindset. They thought they'd cracked it. They thought they'd got there. And it obviously came back to bite them. They can't allow that to happen again.
Scott, thanks so much for joining us on the Hotline Live as ever. Philippe Clement might not have the strength and depth, but we do.
We do. Happy New Year, wee fella.
Cheers, Scott.
Cheers, lads.
And Michael Gannon, right on cue.
Who's got you away, look?
Was that you in the Celtic end, mate?
The neutral middle of the park, guys.
This is the strength and depth we've got. These are the options at our disposal. We've talked a lot about Rangers so far, Keith, but I think, Mick, we need to talk about Celtic. I'll throw a couple of comments at you. Mark Nicholas Moore on Facebook, poor attitude from Celtic. They thought they had to turn up just to win. Having it too easy in these games is no excuse for complacency, and we got what we deserved. Do you think that's a fair enough assessment?
I don't think. Listen, I've just spoken to some of the players and the manager. I don't think it was complacency. I think it was a bad little spell and never really recovered. I think Rangers. You got to credit Rangers. I think the middle of the park, I thought they were outstanding. They never gave Celtic an inch, and unfortunately for Celtic, too many of their players had real off days at one time. I thought Hatate and Bernardo, in the middle of the park, really didn't get going. They were really wasteful with the ball. Callum McGregor had to try and mop up, and he get dragging at that as well. We were a bit more guilty getting the ball away. Guys like Liam Sales at the back again had a really bad day at the office. I think Celtic quite early on realised this was turning into a pretty bad day, and it never really got going, did it? But I don't think it was complacent. Listen, it might be in there somewhere deep in the kind of subconscious. I mean, when you get a 14-point lead, you've not got the same needs and wants, do you? Really? And we've seen games like after like dead rubbers after like the league's done. This can happen, but it did seem a bit like that for Celtic. They didn't seem to ever get out of gear, into gear. Sorry, it was just a kind of surprisingly bad performance. I mean, Dice made up against a guy who's not playing right back before and struggles to get going. Nicholas Kuhn, probably the best player in the country all year, never get going. It just was a day that Celtic can have to really forget about. I mean, it was just a real off day, wasn't it?
Is it a day to forget about, Michael, though? Because when you consider that's 6 goals that Rangers have taken off them now over the last 2 games. And I think it's been similar, that the kind of pattern of play has been similar. Rangers starting in, ratting about them in the middle of the park, you know, nicking balls off toes, intercepting passes, try to strangle and suffocate the road into Callum McGregor. I think it's really similar, and I think what you've got there is now back-to-back games, which, you know, if I'm Celtic, I'm a little bit concerned about that. Have they figured out how to play against us?
I'd certainly think that the first half at Hampden, and then a whole game today, that was the case. I think Celtic will need to figure out a different way of playing against Rangers now, because that kind of high pressing in the middle of the park, sitting not deep, but sitting waiting for that chance to get the ball high up in their own half rather than in the Celtic's half, and then turning it over and running at Celtic. That worked the first half at Hampden. But Celtic got a grip to that, and they got their passing game going at Hampden in the second half. They never got it going here. They continued to keep giving the ball away constantly.
And actually, Rangers grew into it, Mick. I mean, you'd said after the Hampden game that Rangers couldn't adopt that same approach because it's a bit too negative. But actually, the more joy they got today, the more the football started to flow. They actually looked pretty good going forward. It
gave them a real foothold. Listen, I need to check my stat book. I think that's the most shots Celtic have faced in a league game for about 10 years. I think it was 20 odd shots, which hasn't happened for I think over a decade. It was a real. I can't sugarcoat it, Celtic. It was a real doing, wasn't it?
I think they said, Mick, on the Sky commentary that it's the most shots Celtic have faced since records began in the Premiership. 26 shots, which is pretty remarkable.
Aye, that's what I mean. Yeah, I don't think I've seen quite a chasing like that in any kind of game. So it's a major wake-up call for Celtic that it's not going to be a complete stroll. Certainly, maybe in domestic games against everyone else, but not against Rangers, because that's the last 2 games. Like you say, they've conceded 6 goals and they've been really tested.
What was Brendan Rodgers saying after it, Mick?
You know what? It was pretty gracious. He said, "Listen," said Rangers were the better team, deserved to win. They looked like a side that needed it more. He was disappointed. I mean, listen, I don't think you can read the riot act when you've lost. It's your 3rd game in 51 games. Yeah. Or something like that. So first defeat since March. So I don't
10 months,
yeah, I don't think he's going to be going and kicking over team sheet boards and all that. Throwing teacups in the dressing room. A bit harsh. But as a wee reminder, I think he said that as well. It's a bit of a kind of reminder that it's not going to be all their own way all the time. And if they're not at their game, at their best, you can get punished. This is the Rangers team that have turned up. They turned up against Nice, against Spurs, albeit they drop points to Murns, Mullows, and these kind of games. But they can, on their day, turn up and perform. And they did today. Whereas Celtic didn't. And it's definitely a huge reminder.
It was a tough day at the office for Liam Scales today, I thought.
I was going to say that. Really tough. He's had a great season, but today it was a nook for him. It was really bad.
Sharp contrast. Also, he got chucked in here for a debut. Was it last season?
The 1-0 game,
yeah, out of kind of nowhere, and never looked back. Whereas today was a bad day. He passed for the first goal was loose. He had a few more, didn't he? And he just never got comfortable. A real bad day. I mean,
he's not the only one. You can't single Liam Scales out.
Yeah, I don't think he was the only one. Exactly. There was pretty much 10 other pals alongside him who struggled as well. But he had a poor day. Slightly strange not to see Austin Trusty. I mean, listen, Hampden, Trusty got removed at half time and replaced when he wasn't particularly doing great. But I thought it might have been a kind of role reversal at half time here today. I don't know. trust he's quite back to full fitness after being ill for Christmas. I don't know. There has been a bit of a bug going around the place at Celtic with Arnie Engels obviously this morning calling in sick. But yeah, it was a real strange one, wasn't it? He had a bad day for Scales, but listen, he's got plenty of comfort around him for the support group this week because there's nobody really come out this game with a head held tie. I thought only, I think Cameron Carter-Vickers is probably the only one.
Yeah, by the way, once again.
A bit of one-man band.
Once again, there was a tackle that he made, which was very reminiscent of the 4v1 that Rangers had at Hampden at that point in the match. Carter Vickers got the block in. Can't remember who was shooting. Was it Hadji?
Igamani, maybe.
Igamani. But he just hurled himself across, or Barami or something. Unbelievable tackle. Unbelievable intervention. At that point, you're thinking, oh, is that the same moment that we just watched in the final?
Rangers,
yeah.
Even Kasper Schmeichel today. I mean,
I don't know if there's much he could have done with any of the goals, to be fair.
Even some of his passing, and I thought he could have got down a wee bit quicker for Hadji's goal, Mick. I'm
not sure. I think he sees it late.
You know what? See, at the time, I thought at the time it didn't have a lot of pace on it going over the line. But then you see it back; it is going away from him all the time. So I think that's maybe been ultra critical. Listen, a few good saves when Rangers were threatened to run riot. He had 2 or 3 good saves as well. So I don't think he'll be feeling too chuffed, but I don't think he'll be first in the line to get his dunce.
No. We're getting a lot of comments on this as well, Max, so I should bring it up. A lot of people asking about the coin that was thrown at Engels.
Yeah. What was the reaction? What was said after the game about that, Mick?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Brendan Rodgers said, listen, it's the old kind of line. It could have had his eye out type line. Not particularly chuffed with that. Listen,
it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see it. Listen, it goes without saying, you don't want to see that in any kind of game. Especially the kind of marquee fixture in Scottish football going around the whole UK today. We don't want it around the world actually, but you don't want to see that kind of stuff. So Rodgers was disappointed, and it's the players as well saying, I don't want to see that. But I don't think they wanted to make that the kind of main angle of focus. I mean, I think the Celtic angle was they're taking their medicine today. That was an aspect of the game we really don't want to be seen. But don't listen. It's happening too regular, isn't it? This kind of stuff. I mean, that time Rangers were 2 up, maybe 3 up. Even I don't know if it was 3 back.
I know it was the dying embers, Mick. Yeah, 3-0.
Game's done. It's party time. You've just beaten your.
Why do that
comprehensively? Why take an edge off a day that's been a good day that Rangers needed after the last few months? It's just madness, isn't it? It really is.
Yes, I mean that is the problem. I say how much I enjoy watching this fixture, but there's these bits that are bolted onto it that are really, really awful.
Really bad.
And you remember back to the Hugh Dallas game at Celtic Park and the images that went all around the world, and that could have been the exact same. The only difference there today was that the coin that struck Hugh Dallas in the head actually caused a cut to open up. It didn't happen with Engels, thankfully. But it's no different. It's the same offence. It's the exact same thing, And how bad would that have looked if one of Celtic's players had been felled and bloodied by a coin?
No.
And the image, the reputational damage that does to Scottish football is.
Even without
it's
disgusting.
Without the blood, but you know what I'm saying. When there is that image, I think the image of Hugh Dallas has kind of
lived in the memory.
It's never gone away, and that could have been something really similar. Not saying that because he wasn't bloodied by it that we just all moved on. There has to be some punishment here. There has to be a way of Rangers, checking out who was in that corner, going through the CCTV and banning whatever. And it looks to me as if there was more than one, because it looks as if there was certainly more than one coin picked up. So find out who they are, track them down, ban them.
Instant lifetime ban. Mick, just before we let you go, obviously the January window is now open. I know Celtic do their planning way in advance. They're a lot more thoughtful than reacting to a one-off defeat. But do you think anything today will spur them on or change Brendan Rodgers' thinking at all?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think they'll write it off as I can just have a bad day at the office. I don't think there'll be knee-jerk reactions either. I think Brendan Rodgers knows what he wants in January anyway. I still think there's issues to resolve. The left-back issue, short and long-term, needs to be resolved. I still think he wants the extra kind of wide player. I think a couple of them might go out in January. So, yeah, I think there'll be 2 or 3 coming in January no matter what. Nothing to do today. I still think he thinks the squad's a work in progress. Anyway, so yeah, I'd expect maybe a wide player, maybe a see left back issue, obviously still up for discussion. So yeah, I think there's business to be done for Celtic. I don't think listen, they're in a good position in the league. Let's not be daft. They're 11 points clear. So they don't really have to go and do business, but I think it's probably sensible to go and do business because they want the guys in the building and playing ahead of next season. Because listen, the way it's standing now, you got to expect them to win the league. They're going to be qualifiers for Champions League and that kind of stuff. So you want guys in the building as soon as possible.
There will be qualifiers, and I think that's the important part, Mike, isn't it? If you're preparing for an early start to next season with these Champions League qualification rounds, if you can get good quality additions in January, that's when you do it.
Yeah, it's listen. We know the cliche. It's not always easy in January, but listen, Celtic managed to get a couple in January last year. They get Kuhn, they get Adamida, so they did it last year. So I think they'll be looking to do something similar. Do something teed up. It might be the case though that it's late in the window. I wouldn't imagine it'd be quick. Listen, cue somebody getting rolled out tomorrow. I think the kind of market Celtic are in, I think they might have to wait towards the end of the window and see what they can do. But I expect new faces at some point.
Mick, thank you very much for joining us on the Hotline Live. It's always a pleasure having you, and away and get yourself a heat.
Happy New Year, Michael.
I think a heat can start my work. Happy New Year, boys. Happy New Year. Yeah.
I know, Happy New Year, and a Happy New Year, Mick.
I had my stew as well. I had my happy stew year I was looking for yesterday. So.
Steak pie at my house, Mick, was excellent.
It was delicious, absolutely brilliant.
Cheers, Mick.
See you later, boys.
Bye-bye. Michael Gannon there at Ibrox. See, just to finish on the Celtic side of things, Keith, this one from Kevin Hayes come in. Disgusting performance by us. Worst I've seen in 2 years. Gifted goals. Couldn't complete passes. 3 shots and goal. Horrible. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is just to kind of say that Rangers were brilliant. Rangers were all over Celtic. Hounded them. Suffocated them. Thoroughly deserved their win. Probably by more goals. But that was as bad as you'll ever see Celtic. That was... I can't recall. In fact, the worst Celtic display in Rodgers' 2 eras. I can't recall any worse.
Dortmund away wasn't great.
It wasn't great, to be fair.
Look, do you know what? It happens, but because it very rarely and very seldom happens to Celtic, you can expect a reaction, even though there's no great need to be pressing any panic button. Celtic, let's keep the big picture here. Celtic are 11 points clear and they're going to win the title, and today won't change any of that.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not going to say Celtic fans have become entitled, but maybe they have. Mm-hmm. They're so used to just slapping Rangers about the face without any real, consequence, and certainly no threat of it being done to them. So they don't like that. Of course, you don't like watching that, and they'll be angry that their players were under par, way under par. But that's just part and parcel of this rivalry between the pair, and maybe symptomatic of Celtic's years of monopoly, playing monopoly with this particular fixture. When it's reversed like that, it becomes hard for some fans to swallow, even though they must look at it and see, well, don't worry, guys, you're still miles in front here.
Aye. If anyone watching spotted looked a little distracted during that incident there, I was trying to get Des Roache onto the show. I think he's having some technical issues.
This is why Des Roache can't be in VAR.
Mashing Des in VAR, that would be funny actually. He keeps popping up and then popping away. But I'll get your take on it just now, Keith. Nick O'Donnell writing in saying, why wasn't Yefte red carded for his elbow smashing Kuhn?
Well, one, because it wasn't a smash. I mean, I thought, and I think we use that horrible term biomechanics, don't we? He's jumping, his arm is up. In order for that to be a red card, you would need to believe that Yefte was deliberately trying to plant his elbow into Kuhn's beak. And I don't believe that was the case. And I think, obviously, the officials have checked it out. It did go to VAR. VAR had a look, and they were satisfied that wasn't the case. I thought a booking was correct in that instance.
Mm-hmm. There was the other incident, I think, in the first half. The shirt pull involving Cameron Carter-Vickers, and I think it was Robin Proper.
At the back post, at a Rangers corner.
It was a weird... Celtic got the free kick. But we were talking before we come on. It looked like
there was potentially a couple of fouls committed by Celtic players in the penalty box for that one. And what I find that interesting, and maybe this is part of the evolution of VAR, because I hated when VAR came in at first, and every time somebody's jersey moved or twitched inside the penalty box, it was pointing to the spot.
No.
I didn't think that was beneficial to the game. Constantly these awards, because there is a bit of contact, there is a bit of pushing and shoving and grappling under corner kicks. But the first wave of VAR was every time somebody spotted a hand on a shirt, it was a penalty kick. By that same standard, if you were going by that same standard, Carter Vickers has more than a handful of Robin Propper's shirt. It could easily have been awarded for a penalty kick. Maybe, and this is a shame that Des isn't here, maybe we'll get him on tomorrow night show if we can't get him tonight, just to find out if this is something, part of the evolution, that, you know, it's a conscious decision that you can't give a penalty every time somebody's got a handful of shirt. There's a flip side of that argument is, well, if a guy's got a handful of his shirt, it's a foul, it's a free kick, it should be a penalty. So, I don't know. What I do think is that I'm not sure that VAR looked at that one. It's certainly, you know, there was no mention of VAR having a check. The decision was made to give Celtic a free kick. Celtic played on. I'm not sure if anybody went back to take a look at those, because I think there was a couple. Was it Diamondi in the 6-yard box as well, or Rigaman? I thought there was a couple of potential moments there.
Ones to look at.
But I'm not sure that VAR went back to study the tape on it.
I'm trying now one last time to get Des on the show. I think you're muted, Des, if you want to unmute your mic. Otherwise we won't be able to hear your dulcet tones. I think he's having serious troubles, Des.
I'm not sure he can hear us.
Nah.
Oh well.
Right, we tried. Sorry, Des. Right, before we finish then, I know I'm darting about all over the place, but let me take it back to this. Derek Milligan...
By the way, I brought another incident, and I hope we do get Des on the show tomorrow, because here's one. Right on the half-time whistle, Raskin and McGregor get in each other's faces, right up in each other's grills, didn't they?
And Raskin get a yellow card?
Raskin got a yellow, but McGregor didn't.
And McGregor was already on a yellow.
McGregor was already on a yellow.
That again, be good if Des was here. That must influence a ref.
Yeah, I mean, what a decision that would be to send off Celtic's captain. But I'm not sure that Raskin was more aggressive in that clash than
put it this way:
McGregor was.
If that incident happens, McGregor doesn't have a yellow card.
He's booked. The two of them are booked. That's what a referee does. He just goes up to the two of them, calm down, card.
Aye.
So that's a big decision in the context of the game.
Potentially, aye. Right, what I was going to finish on there was just Derek Milligan writing on Facebook. One good game. We need to keep it going, which I don't believe we can, to be honest. And I know I'm darting about, but just on Philip Clement, Keith, I definitely think there's an argument to be made that today's result is the worst thing for Rangers in the long term. I know I'll get stick for that. I know it's...
But potentially it is, because potentially, and this is what... Who was it?
Derek.
This is what Derek's saying there. I think what he means is, if Rangers just go back to, you know, stuttering and stumbling and losing more points, then all it's basically done is extend this kind of stay of execution for Philip Clement.
I think there's enough body of evidence to show
that's probably what's going to happen.
Clement's not the man.
Yeah, I think... Listen, you know my views and feelings. What I would say is that every day being a school day, you've got to learn. You can't keep on making the same mistakes. What he's got to do now, if he really wants to make this more than just a sort of a sticking plaster on his position at Rangers, if he wants to make this a sort of a long-term turnaround, then he's got his team. See that starting team? As near as damn it, stick to it.
Yeah.
You've got your front four, stick to it. You know, now you can make a change. You've got Danilo in there that can now add something as well. So there can be variations. You can leave one out and bring one in, but don't rip it all up. Because if you do that, then you're going to get another St Mirren and another Motherwell, and nothing much is going to change. But he has to learn that lesson now. He has to identify, and what he did, and where I'll give him his due with today's team selection, I think he realised he had to stay as near as that as possible. And if that meant playing two left backs to keep Sterling in at centre half, who kind of breezed through the game, didn't he? I thought he was really good. So I'll give him his due on that. The penny seemed to drop. It was almost as if he gave the sports scientists a day off on the basis that, well, there's no option here. We've just got to go what we'll go. We've got to have a head count before kick-off. Who's standing? Who's fit? Who's ready? Right, you're in. And keep that team as close as he could to the one that was starting to find a bit of a stride just a few weeks ago. That's it for Philip Clement. That team, and put it out in as many games as you can over a period of time, and you might be able to turn this around. But I just wonder if he's going to learn the lesson, or if he's going to go back to the men in the white jackets and ask for their advice.
But sorry, I know I'm labouring this point, but when you say turn it around, they're not going to win the league this season.
No.
And I think, I mean...
No, but his argument has been, I'm playing devil's advocate because I've said I'm long and weary now. I think, Clement is making a bit of a pig's ear of it. However, his argument against that will be, look, this is a project. We've always said long term.
Aye.
There was a lot of slashing of the wage bill required during the summer.
It's a rebuild.
It's a rebuild. These things take a bit of time. Now, the one thing that I would give him in his defence is, well, okay, but if this is what you want your Rangers side to look like, because it is pretty good and it looks pretty decent, and if this is what you've always had in your mind's eye and you haven't just stumbled across it and you've identified that this is clearly your best way forward, then stick to it.
Yeah.
Stick to it. Because if you can't identify that Cyril Dessers is going to weaken your team, if Kieran Dowell is going to weaken your team, if you can't identify that taking Nico Raskin out of it and Cherny out of it and Egerman out of it is going to significantly weaken, then it's his judgment that's flawed.
Yeah.
So that's the interesting bit. What happens next for Rangers?
The 15th of March is when Celtic and Rangers will meet again. I'm already counting the days. It's weird between us, probably watched thousands of these games, and they never get boring.
They just don't.
They never get boring.
They just don't. And it doesn't matter. You can get a 0-0 between them, but
Still.
something will happen. There'll be some drama. It's a drama fest.
Absolutely, aye.
They're great games to watch.
Aye, definitely. Thanks very much for all the comments sent in today. We really appreciate it. I appreciate you getting involved in the conversation. Thanks very much to Scott McDermott and Michael Gannon at Ibrox.
And Des, we'll see you tomorrow if you're out there anywhere.
And thanks to Des, he did try. We were back to talk about it again all tomorrow. Thanks, Keith. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And Happy New Year to all of you watching. Cheers.